boop 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 banana bus. Boop 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 banana bus. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are back here for another episode of the Friday Night Movie Club. However, we're mixing the movie club with a movie night at the same time. We're completely screwing up the format of this show for one night only, or maybe this would be a new thing going forward. But I'm joining here with my lovely cast of cohorts. Cohorts, is that still a thing? Cohorts. Okay, yeah, I felt like I sounded wrong, but I'm joined here with my lovely cast of characters joining us here tonight. We got our good buddy Cider joining us here, black screen for movie night. Like how you kept the kayfabe from our last show that you joined us here for.
The Abyss.
No, I don't have that button ready this time. Damn it.
Okay.
We'll hit it again later. Don't worry about it. Also joining us somewhere in the middle of Texas is our good buddy Mr. Rick Aragon. How you doing there, Ricky?
I'm doing very well, thank you. I'm fully prepared for this adventure.
And also joining us here tonight, very late on the East Coast, is our big man, Moneymaker Rob Motto. How you doing today, Rob?
I'm doing great.
Doing that pretty well. So should we start off the show talking about Taylor Swift, or should we just find like another topic to talk about this week on the show?
None of us want Spencer to jump in again.
Yeah.
We don't need to talk about the Antichrist.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Antarctica's been trending on Twitter all day, and there's been a lot of videos about aliens and ice walls, and it's been just really
giants
weird.
and Nephilim and all that good stuff. Oh yeah, we've seen all that.
It's just ice. And probably a pyramid, because at one point it probably wasn't cold as shit down there, but it's...
I've seen what a condition 1 looks like, and I don't think there's a whole lot of things that could survive that atmosphere. So I mean, I don't know, this could be a 50-50 at this point. Let's put it that way.
Isn't Antarctica where at the mouth of Mountains of Madness is set?
Talk about
Lovecraft. The mouth of
No.
Madness or
Vaguely.
Mountains of Madness.
No.
I don't remember.
No, I
don't know.
actually just watched In the Mouth of Madness.
That's what I meant.
Directed by John Carpenter, which, by the way, I loved. I thought it was very interesting, creative. That kind of Lovecraftian horror really works for me in a way a lot of horror just doesn't, like ghosts and even a lot of like demon possession movies, other than like The Exorcist, just don't really aren't very scary to me. And just that idea that like, oh hey, there are these ancient creatures. And like, God is this like evil fucking like Cthulhu beast, and then like, all of our like culture and shit is complete fabrication, and so that's because that's pretty terrifying, in terms of your mind reeling backwards and like just you babbling incoherently.
I've not read any Lovecraft because I'm not a racist like he is. But I did enjoy Reanimator. That is one of my personal favorites. I've liked the first one and the third one. I never saw Bride of Reanimator. And I've met the Reanimator. He's actually a very nice guy.
I will say this though. So I guess we can let me explain exactly how things are going to work tonight. Then we can get into the movie discussion because we want to talk about this here for a second. But what we're going to do tonight is that instead of talking about a new release movie, in case you guys haven't realized, there isn't really any new release movies out there at all. Somehow I got suckered into reviewing the Exorcist movie, which is a movie I wasn't planning on seeing at all. But I guess I'll do it for the sake of bounding or whatnot. But there wasn't really much content to go out here, and I don't want to just drag these guys out here week after week just to see one terrible movie after another. So I was like, you know what? Let's just blend our show for a discussion on the world of movies, and then let's actually watch a movie right at the end of this. So obviously, as you see here, our film tonight is Can't Hardly Wait. Now, obviously, we can't really watch the show here on YouTube, so what we're going to do is that the first 30 minutes of this show will be right here on YouTube and on all three platforms, and then once we get to the actual movie portion, we're going to flip over, do an intermission. We will leave you guys on YouTube, but if you go to our Twitch stream and our Rumble stream, both of those are in the description live below. I'll even send you guys the link so you guys can follow us along over there. You can watch the movie. We'll have a good old fun movie night to cap off this night. So a couple things about well, I guess I should start off about how this day actually started. This Tuesday night we did the Barroom podcast like we normally do every single Tuesday night, and we got a lot of back and forth, but apparently there was a copyright claim from the WWE of all instances for an episode of the Barroom that came out, and I was thinking to myself, we don't even play anything from the WWE during this time period. What could it possibly have been? For whatever reason, a 10-second clip of me showing Kane and The Undertaker basically saying to go F yourselves was copyright claimed, and the entire video was blocked by the WWE for literally playing a 10-second clip of a documentary that came out like 4 years ago. So now we have the process of disputing that claim and going into it with the WWE. They tried to claim that we took more of the 10-second clip. There was like a 2-minute clip when it actually wasn't. It was literally just that 10 seconds. So I'm disputing it here, and I'm pretty much showing them it's like, hey, look, this is only 10 seconds. I don't know why you guys selected 2 minutes, like it was out of context when it wasn't. So it was the one where I think we had like Selma Hayek on the cover, so we had to go back and dispute that. So that was a fun, nice little time. Then I talked to, I had a little conversation with Brad Shepard, who I'm hoping I can bring on Tuesday night regarding the whole WWE. And apparently earlier tonight, they were stacking in like a whole bunch of wrestlers for like the Tuesday night NXT show, which is more of like their developmental show. And here's what I think is going on right now. I talked about this a couple weeks ago when I did the show by myself, but essentially WWE has no TV rights right now for Raw and SmackDown past next year. So they're trying to shop around to different networks anywhere where they can get a massive deal for TV rights, because if they don't, their stock price, because they just merged with the UFC, is going to absolutely plummet here and in the next a couple of months if they can't get a major deal. The problem is they're pretty much out of options as far as TV goes. NBC just said no on a TV deal for those two shows. Fox just said no on a TV deal for those two shows. Disney has no money. Warner has no money. Your only TV option is Paramount, who are probably notoriously cheap bastards, so I don't see that happening. So unless you can somehow wiggle a deal from like maybe Amazon, maybe Apple, they're looking at the possibility of losing television rights for the two of their three biggest shows of the week, which I think accounts for about $280 million a year for the WWE. So there's a lot of fugazi going on right now with WWE and wrestling in general. I know that with AEW, there was like a block list that was going on not too long ago about users like being blocked by people who working with the company so that they couldn't post any content. People are getting just like bogus copyright claims in the world of pro wrestling at the moment. So it's an absolute dumpster fire when we're talking about a let's just say a hobby and an industry that really hasn't had great relevance since the 1990s, which is kind of ironic because our movies in the late 1990s. But it's funny how I'm seeing like these two companies go after so many content creators right now just for doing any kind of footage of their shows, talking about their shows, mocking their shows. I mean, AEW actually copyright struck Steven Richards, who's doing a very successful YouTube show right now, talking about, you know, injuries and what things went wrong when things didn't go wrong. They copyright claimed his video because he was talking negatively about AEW, and that's pretty much all you need right now is to talk bad about a certain company, and they'll actually go after you and your entire channel. So, and that's very, very fun. The state of things in the world of pro wrestling, which is still, you know, giant corporations at the end of the day. It's not particularly like the YouTube, you know, on Susan that we are expected to. It's like these are basically corporations owned by like Vince McMahon and Tony Khan, who like owns a football team. Don't you have more better things to do right now? So I don't know. My too long didn't read rant of all that is that pro wrestling companies are extremely stupid in 2023. So that's what we've been dealing with behind the scenes. Now I want to get back to focusing onto the movie portion of this show. So I know you heard a little bit of movie news that's going on right now. Apparently, with Marvel and the Fantastic Four, they finally have a cast that's been confirmed, even though they're not going to announce it until after the actor strike is over, which kind of tells me that there's probably going to be some news that audiences are generally not going to like. But we're doing the whole circle here with like this Marvel Cinematic Universe thing, and I know Loki came out, and they're still hyping out Kang the Conqueror because most of that was shot before Jonathan Major's Trouble, so they're hyping up Kang the Conqueror in this TV show, even though we don't know 100% whether he's actually going to be playing this character by the time we get back around. So that's a whole dumpster fire in and of itself. So Rick, I want to go ahead and shoot this one over with you. Just kind of the state of is there any real Marvel interest at this point towards this whole thing? Because it feels like I think Cider we'll talk about you here in a second. You were talking about Star Wars. It feels like everything that Disney has touched has pretty much been beaten to mush at this point, and we're just essentially getting hosed over you know, this interest that has been around for what 5 years now.
No, I don't see an interest. I mean, I've never seen a Disney Plus show. I don't care. I honestly don't know why anyone would care. And if you're going to make people watch all these shows to try to keep up with the newest movies, well, who's really going to invest in that? Though, full disclosure here, I know that all of us here are eager for Echo. You know, the one-legged lesbian, deaf, mute Native American, because that's a massive demographic that has been underrepresented.
Just real quick, on a future episode of the Barroom Podcast, I might just have us all watch an episode live because we've hyped it up so much. I might just do that.
But it's not an event. It's not something that people genuinely care about. At least I don't know any. Like I've always said, the casuals, that would be me. Once Endgame came about, that was it. That was the end of this long saga that made us laugh, made us cry, demanded a 50-disc Criterion, and it should have gotten like Best Picture and Best Actor for Robert Downey Jr. Kind of a shame that Robert Downey Jr. is going to lose to Ryan Gosling, Best Supporting Actor. That's already preset. So who really is going to watch? I mean, Loki. I mean, that's going to have to tie into what was that? What was it? The Ant-Man movie? What Loki and Owen Wilson pop up at the end?
TBA.
Yeah, like I don't remember. I don't care. I've lost so much interest in this. I never had much, so no. I don't see people really that excited. Like, oh wow, we're gonna get another season of Loki. We're gonna get another season of what? Secret Invasion or whatever. I don't. No, nobody cares. Honestly, nobody cares.
Rob.
Well, I'm kind of glad Marvel's shitting the bed now. After I've been out since, let's see, I was out after Avengers Age of Ultron, which I was relatively excited about because it had James Spader as the villain, and I've always loved him, and I think he certainly is a very talented voice actor. But that movie was just kind of like, oh, okay, I get it. Just bloated, airless, like action scenes playing themselves out for 2.5 to, 2.5 hours. I don't think it ran past that, but I just, it's fine. I've been out for a long time. I'm glad it's kind of reaching the end point here, but they keep making shit though. So I'm just like, when's it gonna stop? You know, like one of those, like a gift from The Office, like Jim's like, when, please make it stop. So please, I as long as they have somewhat of a fan base, I guess they're gonna keep doing it. But even their fan base is kind of like turned away from them at this point.
Well, yeah, because they're aging into middle age. They can't keep the enthusiasm going. Although it'll probably end, Rob, when Kevin Feige gets that honorary Oscar for lifetime achievement that he so richly deserves. That's when it'll end.
Well, he certainly made a lot of money, and Hollywood does reward that. So, I know you're joking, but it's at the same time, it's like, you hang around long enough and you're in the business long enough and you make enough money, it's like you can buy whatever fucking achievement you want.
It's like that quote that you love from Chinatown. What is it? Old buildings and whores get respectable. Yes. You know it better than I do.
Yeah, old buildings and whores. If basically, yeah, I can't remember the specific line now, but basically, if you last long enough, you'll
get respectable.
Yeah.
Thing is.
Well, Cider, I know earlier this week, because I missed the Black Pill stream this week, but I know Ahsoka was a big part of that whole discussion here. And like I said, it just feels like that they're just squeezing whatever little bit of lemon juice they possibly can out of this thing. And I don't see it, outside of people like us who just basically like do content just to say how awful this stuff is. I don't see any genuine excitement for anything that brand has coming out right now. And I think their stock price is down to like $78 right now, which is like down from like $155 from where it was last year. So it keeps cratering over and over again. But I mean, is there anything that you can see as a shining light with anything, like either whether it's Disney or Star Wars related as far as moviegoers go?
No. From what we've seen, like Scorsese, whatever his name is, Scorsese, he hit the nail on the head when he called all this stuff a theme park ride. At the time, it was pretty shocking to hear for like the average moviegoer like me. I wasn't like this kind of film in-depth kind of person when he said that. But after he did, I did really kind of reanalyze what I had absorbed from the MCU throughout most of it. And yeah, it felt like you get on here, the whirly twirly part's here, the big glowy blue thing is here, and then the credits are here. And you get off. That's in many different ways, depending on what kind of fan you are. So, but Star Wars is something that is a war drama to begin with. And somehow they destroyed that. They destroyed just the innate interest mankind has had in conflict. We are now just completely avert to it now. Like, I don't care if Ahsoka is waving around her rave sticks with her lady friends in a bathroom somewhere. That's cute. That's great. I'm over it. Whereas like maybe 10 years ago, we were like, whoa, Ahsoka's waving her rave sticks in a bathroom somewhere. Whoa. But no, there's no enthusiasm behind it. Where it comes to Marvel, they're talking about doing a Secret Wars reboot. That's how desperate they've gotten. They don't even want to play with the toys they've set up now. They want to take it back to the original status quo, hire a new Iron Man, hire a new Hulk, hire a new Captain America, and wipe the slate clean. New Thor, everybody, and go back to zero. And this seems like the strat that DC's trying to pull off right now by hiring a guy that looks like Henry Cavill. So this is what they're doing across the whole board. Star Wars is going to get rebooted into witches with glow sticks. Yep. That's what it's going to turn into. And the comics is going to do what comics has always done. When it stops selling, reboot.
I remember this article that I wrote back in 2017. I'll link it to you guys in the chat so you guys read your own time. And it was literally me asking back in 2017, I think maybe a month or two after The Last Jedi, I asked, is Disney Star Wars already over? And I remember viciously the amount of pushback that I got in 2017 asking that question. And Rick, we've known each other long enough to remember all the pushback that I've gotten back from people when I was criticizing Disney before it was cool to criticize criticized Disney.
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
now here we are, and it's all come full circle, and it's all come to the realization that, oh yeah, this thing was done a long time ago. They just spent a couple of years trying to pretend like that it wasn't over, and now it's gotten so far separated from where they were, they can no longer deny what it is.
Well, I'm fascinated to see what someone that we all know and love, who trashed you in particular, Jacob, for saying that, was it Endgame or Infinity War? No, Endgame was the best picture of the year, and The Irishman was on the worst of the year that year because he's just a bitter elitist has-been who makes only
This was
gangster
in
movies.
2019, which was probably like one of the best film years in the last decade, by the way. Just want to point that out.
Well, no, apparently not. I mean, Endgame, it was the best film. So I wonder what this same person will say about Killers of the Flower Moon, because it's still by that bitter elitist has-been who dared to trash, the turning point in cinematic history. But yes, I remember very well. But it's because all of us here are functioning adults who don't need this world's longest and most expensive soap opera to keep going. That's why I always refer to the MCU as the world's longest and most expensive soap opera, because you need it to keep up with the continuing adventures of the Marvels. And who really has time now that I'm assuming most of the fan base that started out is now growing up, starting their families, trying to find a
Well.
job, even in
Well,
even in the well, I know they're trying to find. I know they might not find a job even in the middle of the Biden boom, but we still, they still need to move on. People eventually move on from everything. I mean,
Not Pokemon.
well, unless they fall off a cliff trying to catch an imaginary ball.
Well,
Yes.
there's been a lot of Pokemon go to the pole accidents,
Yeah, we have to be careful out
But
there.
we need to remember, okay? Just if you want to know how far Star Wars has gotten off the rails, there's zombie stormtroopers now. Okay, that's how. When you
I
turn your
saw that
franchise
clip.
into zombies, it's over. You're done.
Yeah,
you're
but-
out of
but, like,
ideas.
Here's the thing. Like I really enjoyed reading Dark Horse comics growing up, and sometimes they had some really weird like I don't know what they call them, but like crossover events, or like
crossovers, yeah.
Batman versus Alien or RoboCop versus
Yeah.
Predator, and
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff like that. So to me, it's not completely out of the realm of possibility, for zombie stormtroopers to be in some kind of like that kind of format. But you're talking about like a Disney Plus show, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Ahsoka is literally fighting zombie stormtroopers and struggling with it. By the way,
Well,
like with laser swords.
But are the stormtroopers able to shoot better now as they're
No.
zombies? No, they're
No.
still bad.
They even
Oh.
move even slower now, and they bonk their heads even more.
Oh, jeez, that's not an upgrade.
Well, look, I don't think that I preceded Jacob in his hate for Disney, but I think that we followed each other right at the same time, that we were both being pretty vocal about it, because when Scorsese made his comments in 2019, I was a very outspoken supporter of what he had to say. It was something I had been saying for years, as someone who's a fan of a more, I don't know what you call it, traditional cinema. I don't know, just shit that's not intellectual property, I guess. So and it is true. I wish that I wish for a world that's not coming back. You know what I mean? We're never going back to the 90s where you released that incredibly full summer slate, and then the fall release schedule, and you even had some good movies that they released in February, March, April. That they made movies for adults, not children. That's unfortunately, I just don't think that world's coming back. But I at least want to like echo and like champion, like, hey, Hollywood, you used to do this really well, or at least competently, and now it's like we have these big tentpole movies that aren't very good for the most part, and then we might get like one or two good movies per year. And this is basically what we're going to expect, because what, corporate greed? You know what I mean? Because like, what, I don't even know what the answer is, if it's globalization, what it is, because I've read multiple books about this, and it's just like, I just think Hollywood's time as being in the forefront of the culture is pretty much over.
I I don't know if it's strictly corporate greed. I mean, we do have all those people that kept up with the MCU for years and decades, and what all of us, I think, pretty much either laughed at or were just astonished at the grown men, people in their 30s or 40s, with who have reproduced, who were in tears when Spider-Man disintegrated, and they were just sobbing. Or then when they cheered when you had Chris Evans, Avengers Assemble, and they were cheering and applauding, and we're thinking, yes, this is a theme park ride. This is a theme park because that's what you're going through experience as you go up and down the roller coaster or go through like the haunted mansion or what have you. This is not actually speaking to anything creative. You need to have like like a set story to go on. And I'm sorry, I couldn't participate in that as much as it would have been nice. Maybe if I had been the age that Tom Holland was when the first movie came out. Because think about it, people who are in the Marvel Cinematic Universe now were children when the first one came out. Tom Holland, I think, was 6 years old. Harry Styles was maybe like 8 or 10 when the first
Mhm.
one came out, and somehow he is in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. God help us if we need we're going to get an Eternals too. That's not what I want. Please, I haven't sinned enough to be
Yeah.
punished with him being the lead.
Well, I was 19 when Iron Man came out, so it's just that pretty much tells you everything you need to know. Um,
I was 18.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I feel like every time we talk about this thing, I just want to just like go off the rant on one of those like "f you, I was right" rants. But like I said, I think people are smart enough to the point that there's nothing into the future to look forward to at the moment with any of these things. These are just dead. Like I said, you had zombie stormtrooper. That's what I was going to mention with Cider. It's like when I saw that, I thought that it was like a rib, like somebody did like some kind of like wacky AI cut it and everything like that. But no, that was actually like in like the series. And I was just thinking to myself, this is what we paid. How much? $4 billion we paid for this, and this is the best what we can do several years later. Like, there's no way they've made their money back on this investment of theirs. I mean, hell, we were talking about it earlier this week. $71 billion for 20th Century Fox, and the best movie you guys can come out of that brand is The Creator. That's the best you guys can do for the amount of money that you spend. I mean, they're Disney's stupid monetary decisions is finally catching up with them. It's going to sink their entire brand, and they absolutely deserve it at this point.
When Disney bought Marvel and when Disney bought Star Wars, they really thought that it was going to be a money making machine that would never end because people would just keep gobbling up everything that they threw at them. But I said at the time, and I've stuck by it, they bled the property dry because there's only a certain amount that the market will sustain. They're not going to sustain all these endless Disney Plus shows that you have to keep up with. I mean, what was that? Agents of Shield. That was maybe one thing, and I don't know if you really needed to keep up with that show to keep up with future Marvel films. But now they demand that you watch WandaVision. You have to watch WandaVision and I think Loki to try to keep up with Doctor Strange too.
No,
I'm
you
not.
have to understand what
Yes,
even going on there.
yes, but why? I don't care, and I'm not going to get any subscription so that I could keep up with this. Who would? And moreover, who's crazy enough to want to keep up with all of this? Well, I know a few people online who would be so fanatical and addicted. That's what they are. They're addicts. They're addicts who need their Marvel fix or they need their Star Wars fix. But look what they've
I
done with
mean, we've
Star
been
Wars.
going through withdrawals for so long. I only know who still needs it at this point. But
Oh, I can think of a couple of people. I can think of a couple of people who will not be mentioned.
The problem is
Not yet.
that they've made all this money. At least Marvel has. I know Star Wars has kind of struggled a bit to recoup some money there. But what's sad is like they bought these properties and then they did absolutely nothing with them creatively. And there is I can't you guys know this better than I do. How much material in terms of comics, in terms of the Star Wars, whatever I forget the extended universe or whatever the hell it's called, like the storyline that happens after Return of the Jedi. Like there's all of this stuff out there that's like that the fans know about that you could reward them with, that you could, and it's just like they don't give a shit. You know what I mean? Like, so I
Well,
don't even understand their business model other than, you know, incompetently producing Marvel and Star Wars products.
no, a friend of mine. When I write comics and stuff because I'm cool and whatnot. But anyway, a friend of mine who has done this for a while and used to work inside of television production companies. He was just in the marketing department, nothing special. But what he explained was that the reason why they do this with the writing teams, why they go and create this absurd crap that takes 15 of them to cobble together, is for licensing reasons. They'd have to pay royalties not only to the company that produced the original work, but the people who actually produced the creative works within that work as well. Instead, they just take their own designs, hire some guy off of DeviantArt to slap out something that looks kind of right. Then they bring together like 4 or 5 people that have no clue what the heck they're writing about to create something that doesn't look at all like what it came from, but smells like it. Kind of like how Ray's world looks like Tatooine, but it's not Tatooine. But it's close enough that if you weren't told that it's not Tatooine, you'd think it was Tatooine.
Yeah.
And that was the point, is that these people didn't have any previous reference point when they were creating all this stuff.
Yeah.
They were thinking like, okay, what do I know about Star Wars? Desert. And so there we go.
And this is the thing that I'll say to cap this off. It's like if you're going to nostalgia bait an entire franchise, an entire like fan base, you want to nostalgia bait at the beginning because that way you're using it as a jump off point to the next chapter, right? And I think they realized that when they got that nostalgia bait, which is like the first movie, they got enough people hooked into whether, okay, I want to see exactly where this goes because at least there's a few scenes in there that look interesting enough that I'm interested to see where the second one is. And then you blew everyone's interest in the second one. So now at that point, nobody cared what you did afterwards. And then you have to sit there and try to resurrect whatever nostalgia was still around for the third one to try to make people happy again. By that point, you already blew it. Go ahead.
I just want to throw a dynamite stick into this. I thought Rey was the daughter of Vader. He like conjured up a daughter using Plagueis's make a human life thing, and I thought that she was his grief baby. And
well, I will
that's
say
what I
that
thought.
when I saw the first of the sequels, all I did was just say, I'm watching Star Wars or A New Hope. I'm watching a remake. This is basically a remake because everything
Desert.
was just like hit
Yeah.
after hit after hit, and I just kept. That's why I kept referring to, emo Vader, not Darth Vader, not Luke Skywalker, not Tatooine. I mean, it just seemed I was watching the same movie. And then when we got the second one, it was such a mess that there was no repair. There was no repairing it. There was no repairing it. 2-time Oscar nominee Ryan Johnson just could not. He destroyed it, and there was nothing anyone could do.
No.
But it goes to something that Jacob said a little earlier. The people who were creating, I think that was the issue with Star Trek, where the people there literally have never seen an episode or know very little about it.
Yeah.
So of course they're not going to have a reference point. There's all of these ideas and novels and comic books that have come about the Star Wars universe. They're not going to know about it, and they're not really going to care. So you're handing the keys to the kingdom to people who either don't know the properties or don't care about them or think that they can do better. In a sense, they're writing their own fan fiction and trying to make it canon. And the end result is whatever you guys are watching, because I've not watched any of them.
It's funny to me how when I look at what Star Wars could have become, and it's weird because with Guardians of the Galaxy, especially the first one, in a lot of ways Guardians of the Galaxy was basically inspired almost entirely on Star Wars, right? It's kind of like a different take on the whole like space opera adventure type thing. And I feel like that if it came out like a year, I think it came out like a year before the Star Wars movie, that's probably the direction that they should have of went with this new Star Wars. It's kind of do more of like a ensemble kind of like space adventure where, you know, you're in the same world as all the stuff that's already happened in Star Wars, but you don't have to play so much into it because you're basically creating your own rather than ripping off like directly from what's in there. You can have like little cameos and like little references to like things and stuff, but essentially you're trying to build your own legacy here within the frame of what's already been established. And I don't think, like I said, I think they fundamentally failed on both fronts. And like I said, this is where they're at now, and they have no one else to blame but themselves. So
The best part or the worst part of the first Star Wars sequel, and honestly, I cannot even remember what it's called. They I remember when Emo Vader was fighting Rey, and he was like, "Join me, I can train you." And I literally said in the theater, "Why? She's doing better than you are."
beat him in the first film.
Yes, like why would he even bother? It was maybe they were looking for, we needed that, and I hate bringing this up, but we needed that female empowered figure that little girls could look up to, and we needed, whatever else we needed that. Because we couldn't have a princess. We had to have General Leia. Couldn't be Princess Leia anymore. So we needed to, move up with the times. So we had, I don't know what we had, but it was not a good production. Not a good production.
Yeah, it's not great, just put it that way. Well, we're going to go over and shoot over to our film here. So real quick before we actually get to the movie portion of this whole thing, who here is actually seeing Can't Hardly Wait? Just Rob? He's the only one? Of course. Okay, well, that was a little bit
It would be a connoisseur of this, I suppose. I don't know. I mean, I've heard of the movie, but I've never seen it.
It was on USA a bunch growing up, so yeah.
Was it on USA Up all night? Because that would be what I would be watching.
Just regular. I'm sure they cut out a bunch of shit that's in this.
So, like I said, this is a film, Can't Hardly Wait. This is a movie that's kind of like one of those teen romantic comedies that kind of somehow became like a cult classic towards like the later part of the decade, because this is a film about, a bunch of high school kids graduating high school. They have one more like big, house party, and it's kind of that transition of this is our last, night as high schoolers, because now we're officially adults and we don't know what we're going to do now, like in the real world, right? And a lot of people, this is kind of like their kind of symbolic high school graduation of like the 1990s in a sense. You had a whole bunch of 90s stars that are in this movie. We'll talk about it. Like you see Jennifer Love Hewitt is in this film. Seth Green is in the movie. Ethan Embry, a whole bunch of other people you'll notice as well.
Jennifer Love Hewitt's boobs are in this film.
I mean, they're in every film, but specifically in this film.
Every film. Is it like a tie dad? Is it like every pair of boobs is Jennifer Love Hewitt's?
I just want to point something out that's funny to me. Like Peter Facinelli is in this as like the jock dude, and so this movie came out in 1998. There's this other movie he was in called The Big Kahuna with Kevin Spacey. It came out in 2000. He's supposed to play like a mid-20s dude, and I'm just like, okay, how the hell did they get away with playing like high school students and then also like 25 career something?
Probably because that would have been closer to his actual age.
True.
I doubt he would be a teenager. Because a lot of teenagers in films are in their mid 20s. Though I will say, I do remember even in Roper talked about that one that you mentioned. Not the one we're watching. What's the one you mentioned, Rob, right now?
The Big Kahuna.
The Big Kahuna. I think one of them liked it, the other one didn't.
Yeah.
And they did mention there was like a three-man show. I think it was based on a play.
Yeah, the Hospitality Suite. Yep.
Mm-hmm. So
all right. So here's how.
Peter Facinelli ended up being the father in the Twilight movies. Just throwing that out there.
Yep.
So here this is going to work. We're going to take a quick little intermission, but for those of you guys who are on YouTube right now, hop over the Rumble and hop over the Twitch, because that's where we're going to watch the movie here. We're going to be ending things here on the YouTube side of things, but we're going to stay live on Rumble and on Twitch. So you guys have both of the links there right now. So The Truth, Alex vs. Evil, Eddie Brock, Awesome One, Christian Fades, all the guys joining us on YouTube, hop us over to those links, and we'll see you guys in just a couple of minutes, because I got a couple little interesting videos for you. So just sit tight, and we'll be back in just a minute. Intermission.
Introducing Doritos 3Ds. A whole new shape that begs to be eaten in very loud ways.
Ay, Chihuahua.
Doritos 3D snacks. Look out, they're coming soon.
Bud Light presents